I still to this day, I think first or second time I talked to Joe Rogan on his podcast, I said we got into this heated argument about whether Scent of a Woman is a better movie than John Wick. Because it's one of my favorite movies for many reasons. One is
or Scent of a Woman.
Scent of a Woman.
I
Partially,
didn't know that, by the way. I was just
you
yeah, I
tossed
didn't
that
know
out
if
there.
you would actually know of the
Awesome,
movie. Yeah.
awesome. No, yeah, I said I love the tango scene. I love Al Pacino's performance. It's a wonderful movie. Then Joe was saying John Wick is better. So we to this day argue about this.
I think it depends on what conscious state you're in
Yes, true.
that you would be ready and receptive to. But Scent of a Woman, I think it has one of the best monologues at the end of the movie that has ever been written or at least performed.
When Al Pacino defends
That's
the younger, yeah, I often think about that. There's been times in my life, I don't know about you, where I wish I had an Al Pacino in my life, where integrity is really important in this life.
It is.
And sometimes you find yourself in places where there's pressure to sacrifice that integrity. And you want, what is it, Lieutenant Colonel or whatever he was, to come
Slade.
yeah, to come in on your side and scream at everyone and say, what the hell are we doing here?
Being, unfortunately British and sort of having that slightly awkward sort of Hugh Grant gene, it's very, very, very at the opposite end of the spectrum of the remarkable feat of Al Pacino at the end of that scene. But and yeah, integrity is it's a challenging thing, and I value it much. And I think it can take 20 years to build a reputation and 2 minutes to lose it.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more that I value than integrity. And if I'm ever wrong about anything, I truly don't want to be wrong for any longer than I have to be. That's what being in some ways a scientist is. You're just driven by truth. And the irony relative to something like mathematics is that in science, you never find truth. All you do in science is you discount the things that are likely to be untrue, leaving only the possibility of what could be true.
Yeah.
But in math, when you create, a proof, it's a proof for, from that point forward, there is truth in mathematics. And I think there's a beauty in that. But I kind of like the messiness of science, because again, to me, it's less about the truth of the answer and it is more about the pursuit of questions.
But their integrity becomes more and more important, and it becomes more difficult. There's a lot of pressures, just like in the rest of the world, but there's a lot of pressures on a scientist. One is like funding sources.
Yeah,
I've noticed this, that money affects everyone's mind. I think I've been always somebody that I believe you can't buy my opinion. I don't care how much money, billions or trillions. But that pressure is there, and you have to be very cognizant of it and make sure that your opinion is not defined by the funding sources. And then the other is just your own success of for a couple of decades publishing an idea, and then realizing at some point that idea was wrong all along.
right.
And that's a tough thing for people to do. But that's also integrity, is to walk away, is to say that you were wrong. That doesn't have to be in some big dramatic way. It could be in a bunch of tiny ways along the way.
Right.
Like reconfigure your intuition about a particular problem. And all of that is integrity. When everybody in the room, believes a certain thing, everybody in the community believes a certain thing, to be able to still be open-minded in the face of that.
Yeah, and I think it comes down in some ways to the issue of ego, that you bond your, correctness or your rightness, your scientific theory, with your sense of ego. I've never found it that difficult to let go of theories in the face of counter evidence, in part because I have such low self-esteem.
Well, I kind of like that. I've always liked that combination. I have the same. I'm like very self-critical, imposter syndrome, all those things, putting yourself below the podium, but at the same time having the ego that drives the ambition to work your ass off, like some kind of weird drive, maybe like to drive to be better, like thinking yourself is not that great and always driving to be better. And at the same time, because that can be paralyzing and exhausting and so on, at the same time, just being grateful to be alive. But in the sciences, in the actual effort, never be satisfied, never think of yourself highly. That seems to be a nice combination.
I very much hope that that is part of who I am, and I remain very quietly motivated and driven. And I, like you, love the idea of perfection, and I know I will never achieve it, but I will never stop trying to.